Hi all, welcome to Community Empowerment Session with Suman Saha and Dave Sidhu. As you know, we always have a guest with us in our program to empower our community, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a police officer, whether it's another community leader. And today we have someone special guest from Lifeline Australia. So, Suman, can you please welcome our guest?
Yep. So, friends, welcome once again. And today we have a very special guest, and she is from Lifeline Australia. I'd like to welcome Rachel Bowes. Rachel.
Hi, Simon. Hi, Dave. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. So, as I mentioned, Rachel is the head of crisis services and quality at Lifeline Australia. And let me tell you a little bit about herself. She has the clinical responsibility for all Lifeline services, including the development and delivery of the crisis support service, which currently receives around 1 million contacts per year from Australians in crisis or at risk of suicide. And I can only think, Rachel, this number, like 1 million number, might have increased significantly since the COVID-19 outbreak here in Australia and especially in New South Wales. Do you like to add anything to introduce yourself to our audience?
No, thank you. That was a lovely introduction. I'd be quite happy to talk a little more about what Lifeline's doing rather than myself. Would you like me to respond to that question about the numbers?
Yeah, well, why not?
Yeah. I mean, 1 million contacts a year. Yeah, that's an incredible number of phone calls that we receive every year. And you're right that it has gone up recently. That million was averaged out on around 2,700-ish contacts every day, and we're now have been well over 3,000, in fact, averaging around 3,200 contacts every day for the last few months. So we really have seen a huge increase in the demand for our services and the number of people reaching out for support.
That's really big number you're working with, and I'm sure does need a big team. And before we go further, I think I can understand, like, if I need to go somewhere, I need the way the navman showed me the way. I think Lifeline does work exactly the same way when you are lost, when you are depressed, when you're in stress. So it does help you like a navigator what to do in these hard situations. But can you please explain the functionality of Lifeline Australia?
Yeah, so it's a 24/7 service every day of the year, every minute of the day, that's been going now as part of the Australian community for over 60 years. So it's got incredible longevity and is really well known across the Australian population. We are a completely free and confidential support service for people in crisis, and that crisis can be anything. We don't decide what a crisis is. The people who call us decide what that crisis is. And for some people, that includes being at risk of suicide. So suicide prevention is a big part of the work of Lifeline. But most of the people that call us and that talk to us are just looking for someone to talk to help them through a difficult period of time, to help them, as you said, to navigate where next. Because I think for many people, when they're in a difficult place and they feel that they don't know what to do and they don't know where to turn, it's almost impossible to get yourself out of that situation. So one of the things that happens when someone calls Lifeline is that our crisis supporters are predominantly there to help them express what's on their mind, to talk through their feelings, and to think about what they need to do next to help them through their situation. So we're really there at that immediate point in time to help someone when they are struggling to know where next and what to do.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there any specific service you like to mention to our audience? You know, if they wanted to get a specific service, whether it's the mental health wellness, or if there is any specific service that Lifeline Australia has introduced since the outbreak of COVID-19.
So in terms of the crisis support service, which is the service that we offer through the telephone, and that we also offer the same service via text and via online chat. So there's a few different ways that people can access the support service, and those second two, chat and text, can be accessed through the Lifeline website, and they're really great for people who are not confident in picking up the phone or whose situation means that they don't want to talk out loud to someone. They prefer that conversation to be very private. So we offer those different channels for seeking support. There's an additional service for people who are receiving support because of the bushfires last year. So that was a big issue for many people in our community, and we had some additional funding to set up a bushfire line, and that's still active. In terms of COVID, what we've done is really upskill our workforce to be able to deal with any calls that are COVID related, and they tend to be, even though it's kind of COVID that's behind it, it's the way that people are left feeling and the struggles that they're having, and that doesn't really matter what's behind it, if you know what I mean. It almost doesn't matter that it's COVID that's the thing that's causing you to struggle. The important thing is to have that conversation and get some support and work on what's next. But in terms of COVID specific stuff, some of the Lifeline centres, physical locations around the country, have a lot of additional supports that if you have one near you, they quite often offer financial counselling that's free, relationship counselling, and other face-to-face support services. So there's a lot out there, and our website has got some amazing resources as well, on a whole range of topics, including mental health issues, COVID issues, and those resources on the website are available in lots of different languages. So they're really accessible for people across lots of communities.
That's good. And Rach, as you mentioned, there is the emergency. People have an option to call or contact, however the way it is. But sometimes there is a general, like we don't have to, there is no emergency, but people still want this kind of support. They're feeling like I need this help tomorrow or day after. So the access to these services, we don't want to, that same time we want to pass the message. So keep the emergency number for the emergencies, but there's a non-emergency contact. So there is another certain ways people can contact Lifeline Australia when it's a non-emergency, but they still need help.
I guess what we would say is that we're not just an emergency service. I mean, some people do contact us when they are in absolute crisis, and of course we help them. But really, one of the messages that we want to try and get out to people is don't wait until it's an emergency. If you seek help and connection with other people early, before your problem gets too big or before it becomes overwhelming, you really have a much better choice of a much better opportunity to get through it. So we actually encourage people not to wait until it's a crisis before they call us. People can call us at any point in that journey where they think that perhaps something isn't quite right. So yeah, we're not just an in-crisis service. We're there for people all of the time.
Okay, that's great. That's good to know.
Rachel, is the Lifeline Australia head office in New South Wales?
So the head office is in New South Wales, yes, and we've got quite a lot of local centres in New South Wales as well. I think there's about 10 across the state and a similar number in other states as well. So there's different ways that people can, obviously the phone number when you ring up, that's a national service. Anyone in Australia can use that. But if people want to access some of the face-to-face community services or the training that's available through the local Lifeline centres, then they can find the locations of that on our website as well.
Do you know, do Lifeline Australia has any centre in Parramatta, Blacktown or Cumberland LGA? Do you know?
Yeah, there's a Lifeline centre that covers Macarthur and Western Sydney. I'm not quite sure where that one is based, but we certainly have a centre that is located that covers that geographic region.
Okay, well, that's great. Now, the outbreak of coronavirus or COVID-19 has impacted people in various ways. And during time as this, people may be feeling afraid, worried, they could be anxious, and some of them could be too much overwhelmed by the constantly changing alerts, media coverage regarding the spread of the virus. So give some suggestion to our audience how they can look after their mental health and can manage their stress level in this difficult time.
It's a really great question because so many people are struggling for lots of reasons at the moment. And I guess some of our key messaging is if you can avoid too much media, then do that, because actually repeated exposure to the media reporting and the numbers, and it can be very draining, and it can add to people's anxiety. So, we understand that everybody wants to know what's going on, but maybe try and limit the amount of media. Have a quick check-in at the news conference in the morning, and then leave it. Try not to let yourself get overwhelmed by the reporting, because it can be very negative. Even if you're in lockdown, try and keep those connections with the people that are important to you. So whether, you have your local walk and and instead of walking with someone, you have a phone call with somebody while you're walking, and make conscious efforts to connect with people, whether it's, you have catch up for a coffee over Zoom or a walk instead of doing that in person, to have a online dinner with friends, or just try and think creatively about how you can continue some of the activities that you would have done face to face in a different way, and try and get out of the house. I know it's an obvious thing to say, but actually being out in the sun, and even if you just go and sit in your garden or on your balcony instead of in your house, it's really important to have a change of scenery, but also just some fresh air, some exercise if you can build it in. They really are important to keep you well, and try and keep some structure to your day. It's really easy to stay in your pajamas all day and snack all day instead of eating proper meals, and let your sleep patterns get all, going to bed really late, getting up really late. Routines can be really important when there's not a lot else going on in life, and to have some structure to your day, and particularly if you have other people around in the house, that is a really important thing as well to do. It's just part of looking after yourself.
That's good, right?
What you say, I think we all need these very useful tips.
Yeah. So Rachel, you already answered my next question anyway. So, which is thanks for that. That's good. That's another thing we connecting with our program, which is community empowerment, because all news, everything is all showing, okay, how many numbers, how many cases, how many people. So and even a lot of people, sometimes they come to me and say, why are you so happy when you're talking about a serious matter? I say, look, I might, reflect that. So it just, we want to make people positive feel. And when we're talking about something, and good thing about this digital, we able to connect those people that when we have a call, like, because I'm at home, I have all day nothing to do. I called my great parents and the relationship, all these connections, cousin, first cousin, second cousin, third cousin, we start contacting them back again. Whoever's not been talking for some reason, we're trying to get back with them, and they've been nice to everybody, so I think there are a lot of positive opportunities we have while we are at home. But again, we in this time, there are sometimes people we see with their stress, they generally, they message, they text to each other, they trying to text like, I'm about to quit, like commit suicide or something. Sometimes journal talk, they mention that word. And what the other person should do, like me, in case I know it's something to report about that one, and the person does scared, like, or I mean, in that situation, there are some, at some point, we need some advice, because every situation can be different every time. But sometimes if there's any symptom we or see it, or some situation we see it, what other person should do it on the other side if you can't help it, you're not nearby or something.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Like, how do we all be ready to help somebody who might be in need? Because you never know who's going to, you might be texting or speaking with someone in your friends and family, and they actually say, I'd feel terrible. I'm not sleeping. I haven't been out of the house. My mood is really low. I'm crying all the time. I'm worrying about the future. And I think the best thing that we can all do is not freak out if someone says those things to us, because it's really easy to get in a panic and think, oh my word, what am I going to do? So try and stay calm and let that person know that you're really pleased that they've opened up to you and that you are here to listen to them. Because what people need is the reassurance that someone is going to take them seriously and listen to them and help them get help. So the best thing that we can do is respond calmly, say, I'm really pleased that you told me. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about what's happening for you? Let's think about where you might need to go for help. And just be a good listener, because most people just need to express what's happening to them. And sometimes the most powerful thing that we can do to help ourselves cope is to talk about things out loud. Because when we just live in our heads and we just think things round in a circle, it's easy to make the worst case scenario. But then when you talk it through with someone, you can get a more balanced perspective about how you're feeling, about how they're feeling. So offer support, encourage people to talk to you, don't panic, and help them think, right, what kind of help do you think you need next? Do you need to go and speak to your GP? Is it actually an emergency? And do we perhaps need to go to the emergency department? Do we need to think about, is there a phone line or a service that you could contact? So help people think about what's going to be work for them next, what they need to do and what kind of support they need, and keep checking in with them. So maybe the next day or the day later, just check back in with them and say, how are you going? Did you do that thing that you said you were going to do? How are you feeling? I'm here for you if you need to talk again.
That's good. Thanks.
Great response, Rachel. We all know lockdown is very challenging. I shouldn't be saying can be. I think we find it's challenging. It's challenging for me. It's I think somehow challenging for you, Rachel, as well, when you are managing such a big portfolio. And we already hear the number of calls that Lifeline Australia is receiving. At the same time, Dave is also going through challenges as well. Friends, when we laugh, don't take it that we are just laughing because we don't take it seriously. We know this is a serious matter, but also please acknowledge that this is a community empowerment session. We like to bring some positivity and give this positivity to you, to your family, to your friends. So please take it positively, and we wish and hope that our session actually will help to bring some positivity in your life as well. As long as you are getting all the information from our experts like Rachel tonight. Everyone's situation is different. Whatever you feel, be kind to yourself. Reach out for help, because we know from tonight's session, the help is there. People are there to listen to you, help you, like Lifeline Australia, and like the people like Rachel Bose, who is actually helping Lifeline Australia and helping our community to pass through this difficult time. So with that, Rachel, I like to request you, if you can give a message to our audience, and if you can please provide how they can contact Lifeline Australia, like your website address and your 1300 number. From myself and from Dave and from the community empowerment session, we like to thank you and Lifeline Australia for joining and helping us and bringing this session for our audience. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for letting me share our message. And the message from Lifeline, it really is to reach out and stay connected, talk to people with whatever is on your mind. If you can do that with friends and family, great. If not, call Lifeline on 13 11 14 or access tools, resources and our chat and digital programs through the Lifeline website, which is lifeline.org.au. Thank you.